Morning and welcome to this knowledge-packed episode of People Power, and I am Joshua Mukumo. Mental health is one of the most important and yet fragile aspects of a person's life, and if left unmaintained and unguarded, it can be led astray by the endless challenges people face on a daily basis. And once led astray, the results are often tragic. But on this episode, you are going to get the know-how to guard and maintain your mental health. And the know-how is coming from one of the best professionals, the creme de la creme and epitome of clinical psychology, Dr. Mokgadi Setoaba. Doctor, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mukumo.
Wonderful.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Today we are going to look at the subject of mental health. And I'm going to start by asking you to just briefly give us who you are and what you specialize in.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Mokgadi Setoaba.
Yes.
I'm a clinical psychologist by profession. I also offer lectures in the University of Limpopo.
Yeah.
So I do psychotherapy, I do assessments.
Yes.
For a whole lot of things, for school, I do assessment for RAF.
Yeah.
I do assessment for court appearances and a lot of assessments.
Exactly.
But I also see a lot of patients in the hospitals.
It's true.
Those who need psychotherapy.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Today I want us to look at the fragile aspect of mental health. What is mental health?
Mental health is actually is defined from whose perspective.
Yeah.
They will tell you that mental health is not the absence of a disease,
Yes.
or health is not the absence of a disease.
Yeah.
So when we come with mental health or stress, for example, we say mental health is more than just the absence of mental disorders or disabilities.
Yeah.
So when we talk about mental health, we're talking about a person being able to realize their own abilities, a person being able to cope with the daily hassles and daily stresses that they meet on a daily basis.
Exactly.
And a person being able to be productive, in their own life or make a contribution actually to their life and that of the community. Then we talk about mental health.
Wonderful.
It's a state of sort of harmony.
Yes.
But not necessarily in the absence of hassles. You are able to cope with the hassles that you meet every day.
Yeah. And
so it's a state of well-being. If we put it in short, you can say it's a state of mental well-being.
Mental well-being amongst a group of endless challenges.
Yes. But you are able to cope and jungle with them, on a daily basis.
Yeah. And how does mental health affect the well-being of a person?
Okay. Once a person faces challenges that they're not able to deal with, then the disharmony starts to feature.
Yeah.
And then we start talking about mental disorders. We talk about stresses, we talk about depression. So once when a person is no longer able to cope, other things that are negative will negatively impact on their well-being. Will start now coming in. Then we talk about the disharmony, we talk about the disorder, we talk about the disease. This has got a lot of meaning. It means that the harmony is now shifted. We're getting into a different arena.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. And then the moment you get to a point where you are unable to cope, then the element of stress comes in.
Yes.
And what is stress?
Stress is defined, in simple terms. When a person is met with demands, life demands that they are not able to handle and deal with, they start now producing certain responses towards those demands. And those responses, most of the time, when we say stress, the person has to show certain physiological responses, certain psychological responses, even behavioral responses. Then we'll say now the person is now fit to say, okay, when a person starts to show those behavioral, physiological, and psychological responses,
Yeah.
we are now able to say now the person is stressed because they're showing those symptoms of stress.
Yeah, and I
They're no
like the
longer
fact that
able
you've
to
just
cope.
mentioned the three parts in a human's body where where stress takes effect as soon as it sets in.
Yes, you know, obviously, a stressed person will be affected physiologically, will
Yes.
see physiological symptoms of stress.
Yeah,
Or signs and symptoms of stress.
Yeah.
We'll see the behavioral symptoms of stress. We'll no longer be able to cope. We'll no longer be able to make decisions. Concentration will be a bit difficult for this person. Making decisions will be difficult.
Yeah.
They'll be stressed. They'll no longer be able to sleep. But then the physiological symptoms, mostly the pounding, heart rate, sweating sometimes, just not being on your
Very
game,
erratic
feeling
behavior.
very irritable and very anxious.
Yeah.
So those will be the symptoms of stress.
and then the third one, it's you mentioned physiological, behavioral. The third one would be
The cognitive is when a person is no longer able to make sound decisions, make sound judgments, and concentration becomes very difficult for them, and memory lapses here and there. They're forgetful.
Oh, yeah,
They are just
yeah.
not on top of their game.
Exactly.
Then you are able to see. But when symptoms are not still very mild,
Yeah.
we still believe that the person, if empowered, can be able to cope with the stress. Remember, we said mental health is when a person is able, when you say a person is in a state of mental health, is able to realize their abilities, they're
Yeah.
able to cope
Exactly.
with the stresses that they're meeting, even when they're feeling or they're experiencing certain symptoms, they're still able to deal with those symptoms.
Yeah.
Remember, stress is not all negative.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've got positive stress, we've got negative stress. And stress
That's
in
amazing.
itself, in its entirety, it helps us to cope.
And just quickly brush on that. What is positive stress and negative stress?
Yes, positive stress, when you talk about positive stress, it's very interesting. When a person is preparing for their wedding, it's a positive thing.
Yeah.
It's the source of stress is positive.
Exactly.
But it is likely to produce the same physiological and psychological reactions that just like the negative stress.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The only problem when the positive stress becomes too much is when a person is always or constantly, chronically in the state of action, of this active stress.
Exactly.
Even though it's positive, there
Yeah.
comes a point where your natural resources are not able to cope.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
exhaustion sets in.
Exactly.
Even with negative stress, the source of stress obviously is negative things like, events such as death,
Yeah,
events
yeah.
such as traumas, different types of trauma, accidents, abuses, chronic abuses in the family, hijacking, natural
traumatic
being a victim of,
experiences.
yes, being a victim of natural occurrences or disasters like your floods and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If the person stay in that negative state of physical charge,
Yeah.
unfortunately they use a lot of, when you are stressed, your body is geared
Yeah.
in a position where you need to fight or flight. Remember, we said stress helps you to deal with the situation. It
Yeah.
prepares your body to be in the position to deal with the situation at hand.
Yeah,
So imagine if all the time you are chronically in that state of readiness,
Yeah.
you are going to deplete the resources. Your body is going to be exhausted. And
Yeah.
once a person's body is exhausted, then the clinical symptoms of stress come in. And then the other things that could also follow, give them the health impact of chronic
Yeah.
stress,
Yeah.
of prolonged stress.
Yes.
There are a lot of health impact.
Exactly. In fact, it takes a much longer time for stress to finally affect you health-wise.
Remember, we need stress every day in our lives.
Exactly.
We need stress to wake up in the morning, to go work. Remember that we've got, a lot of things to pay for. Debts, month end needs to be sorted and stuff like things, food at home. So we need that kind of stress. Even a student writing exams need a bit of stress. Those that are not stressed will sleep even when they're writing tomorrow, and they'll go to the examination room unprepared.
Yeah.
So a bit of stress is important because it, pumps up your performance.
Exactly.
Because your body will be geared in that position that it will enable you to deal with the stress at hand. So when too much or too little of anything or everything, it becomes too much.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
it becomes detrimental to a person.
It's true.
So when we have got too much stress, that's when we start now experiencing the negative impact of stress.
Yeah.
Okay, but when we've got too little of stress, we can't meet our deadlines, we can't do what we're supposed to do, we leave things, unattended, and it becomes a mess.
Exactly.
Again. So we need a bit of stress to uplift our game.
It's very true.
Yes.
Yeah. That is it about stress. We're going to take a break and we'll be back right after this.
I am Dr. Mokhadi Setwaba, and I'm a clinical psychologist. My practice is situated at 75 Berger Street, along the street between Mediclinic and Petersburg Hospital. We offer different services in our practice. We offer individual services, couple services, and we service the youth, the children, and as well as the adults. We do a lot of assessments, psycholegal assessments. We do assessments for placement purposes, either is work placements as well as school placements for children with disabilities. And we also do a lot of individual psychotherapies, different kinds of psychotherapies, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapies, as well as RBT. These are my colleagues, people that will always help patients when they come to our practice. They do a lot of different things. Others do open files, others make appointments for patients, and others do admin work where we the billings and other administration management work.
We are back on People Power, and I'm still with Dr. Mokhadi Setwaba. Before the break, she gave us a fully detailed explanation of stress. And from now on, she's going to dive deeper into what is depression.
Okay. Depression is a symptom of a condition that we call major depressive disorder.
Yeah.
And it can also be a symptom of bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
Why I'm saying it's a symptom of a disorder is because most of the time the way you're asking it is as if it's depression a condition.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It features within certain conditions.
Yes.
But then those conditions, maybe let me go straight to the major depressive disorder that I said depression is a feature of, is a symptom of. The major depressive disorder that we see a lot of people being depressed, some going to the hospital, some not being able to do what they're doing, is actually persistent. It's a mood disorder which is characterized by persistent depressed mood, sad mood. Most of the patients will also show disrupted sleep. Some will sleep a lot, some will sleep very less.
Yeah.
And what is also important here is disrupted appetite. Appetite will be changed.
Yeah.
Some people, when they're depressed, they eat a lot. Even those that's stressed. Some people, when they're stressed or depressed, they eat a lot.
Exactly.
Some will eat very little. And then you can imagine, for those that are eating a lot, obviously they will gain a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And then those that are not eating, they will lose a lot of weight. Most of the time when we talk about depression, we only focus on those that are not eating a lot and
yeah.
losing weight because they're obvious, they give in their way. But
yeah.
We leave out those that will eat a lot when they're depressed or stressed and then gain a lot of weight. And these symptoms always go together with disrupted sleep. A lot of people will suffer insomnia, and that is maybe a common feature, but maybe amongst young people, and so they will actually, instead of sleeping less, they will sleep a lot. Have you ever seen this child who's always in the room, and when you go, he's sleeping all the time?
Exactly.
And then we're just not worried because he's sleeping, for example. But when he's not sleeping day and night, and then we start worrying. But then we have to worry when a person sleeping pattern has changed. Okay, and we need to worry, because together with other symptoms that I spoke about, concentration as well, for especially in young people, concentration will also start to change. A child who was on top of their game, who was very bright, will start now getting lower marks, lower grades, and maybe still on children, they will not even want to go to school. Sometimes a child who really liked school, and will start now really getting discouraged in going to school, getting demotivated, and not really getting committed to their schoolwork. And a person, maybe for adults, those that were working, they will start losing interest in things that they previously liked, pleasurable activities that they liked. Maybe a person who liked soccer, suddenly they don't really...
Their interest will dissipate to almost nothing.
To almost nothing. They're always social isolation. They withdraw to themselves. They're no longer fascinated about mingling and interacting with people. So that kind of a person, and most of the time they discouraged and demotivated, and most of the time when symptoms of depression persist, the person feels worthless, the person feels useless, the person feel that they've got no use to live. People would be better without them. And they are discouraged with everything and everything, and anything. And most of the time, when such happens, they become very irritable, they become very teary, they cry very easily, because of irritability.
The slightest reaction brings the slightest provocation brings the worst reaction out of them.
Very true. It's a storm. They just lose it, and that is when we know that this person is actually suffering, and memory changes as well. They forget easily.
Exactly.
They're no longer interested in things. And one other symptoms that we need to also look at, a person who liked themselves, who liked really dressing up or grooming themselves well, they just lose interest in that. You see that this person is no longer themselves shabby, sometimes ignoring very basic grooming activities.
So, but then is it possible that when a person is depressed, they can still be bubbly and joyful throughout?
With adults, is a bit tricky. It's not. They can try and fake the bubbliness, but for young people, that we need to watch out for. When a person who was not that bubbly start to be bubbly and stuff, we need to really get closer, because for most of them, they'll start doing things that they're not doing. And most of them, when they feel very depressed, they will start to compensate. For the low mood, they'll start to compensate by using substances to try and, heighten their mood. Even adults, sometimes they can do that. When I feel very depressed and people are worried, asking me questions, I'll start, maybe a lot of people will start using substances, that will, lift their mood a bit.
Exactly.
So we need to really get closer and maybe ask and check closer, so that this person should not, now we have lost this person to depression, and then if we don't really get closer as those that are people that are around this person, we are likely to lose this person also to substances.
Exactly.
Because as they're trying to live their emotions, they might actually get hooked on the substance that they're using. Then we've got two problems.
So this means that this slight joyfulness that we see is just a coping mechanism.
Sometimes most of the time it's a coping mechanism.
Oh, wonderful. So according to the way you've been outlining it, it's very evident that depression comes from stress. So what is the link between the two? At what point does stress now graduate to a level of depression?
Yes. And mental disorders are somehow interconnected. They a lot. I said in the beginning, we need stress, a little bit of stress, to really get us on, our best performance.
Yeah.
But then when stress becomes too much, it becomes a problem.
Exactly.
We start now experiencing stressors and impact of stress. We start feeling the impact of stress.
Yeah.
And I said earlier on that stress puts a person in a state of action, because of the adrenaline rush and the state of it puts your body in the state of fight or flight. And if that state of fight or flight remains for a long time, the body loses its natural resources to deal with whatever stress that the person is facing. And now, that is the state when the person reaches a state of exhaustion.
Yeah.
You are tired, your resources, natural resources are depleted. Then that's when the other effect of prolonged stress come in. Stress, real clinical symptoms of stress. Now depression comes in. So that's when the connection comes in. I'm no longer able to deal. My body is no longer helping me to deal with whatever stressors or challenges.
Or has surrendered to the pressure.
Yes. So it surrenders. And most of the time when it surrenders, depression sets in.
Yeah.
I'm not able to deal with what I'm facing. I become discouraged. I become demotivated. I'm consumed by fear, maybe. I'm consumed by helplessness. You feel helpless. You feel hopeless that the situation will ever change. Now the person sinks into deep depression.
Yeah.
You see, so it started with a hassle, and it went to stress, normal stress. Then it went into clinical stress, and most of the time it went to clinical depression. And then if the depressive state is not resolved as well, other consequences could actually follow, such as when a person starts. Now, I said one of the symptoms of depression would be feeling worthlessness. A lot of, feeling useless in most of the time. The ideation of suicide start to come. If I'm faced with this huge problem, huge challenge, and I feel I have got no resources to deal with this problem, most of the time, that is when the helplessness will come, the hopelessness will come, and the worthlessness, following, and the ideation of saying the world or people will be better without you start now to come in. I can't deal with this. I've got huge debt. They want to repossess my properties and stuff. I feel the shame. People want, how will people talk about me? I'm thinking about the comments of people, the media for maybe, for example, for the celebrities, they start thinking about the media comments and what have you. And you start now thinking, I will not be able to deal with it. Maybe in some instances, already there are comments. People know about your story. People know that you're not coping. People know that your things are not together, and they're already passing negative into them. So if a person has come to that time where they feel, I can't deal with this. Ideations, suicidal ideations, they get very stronger and stronger, and at that time, if a person does not get a helping hand, a person that will come and, extend a hand, they're likely to start now thinking about the plans of killing themselves, and,
just an easy way to escape this thing.
Out. Yes, an easy way out, an exit. I always say they think of short left. You can't go straight. It's either short left or short right.
Okay, wonderful. We are going to take a break and we'll be back right after this.
I am Dr. Mokhadi Setwaba, and I'm a clinical psychologist. My practice is situated at 75 Berger Street, along the street between Mediclinic and Petersburg Hospital. We offer different services in our practice. We offer individual services, couple services, and we service the youth, the children, and as well as the adults. We do a lot of assessments, psycholegal assessments. We do assessments for placement purposes, either is work placements as well as school placements for children with disabilities. And we also do a lot of individual psychotherapies, different kinds of psychotherapies, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapies, as well as RBT. These are my colleagues, people that will always help patients when they come to our practice. They do a lot of different things. Others do open files, others make appointments for patients, and others do admin work where we the billings and other administration management work.
We are back on People Power, and before the break, Dr. Setwaba was telling us about depression, and right now we are going to touch up a bit more on how do people end up taking their own lives because of depression. Can you please just give us a little bit more clarity on how exactly does one person end up taking that fateful decision that now I am done here, I want to take my own life, I want to escape this whole experience that is surrounding me?
Yes, most of the times is when depression has been there for a long time. And you must remember, some people, for most people, when they feel there's no way out of a problem or a situation,
yeah,
the one thing that comes very clearly to them is that I need out. And unfortunately at this time, they think, because now a person is out of options, they think the only way out is through suicide.
They want urgent fresh air.
An urgent solution, you know. And, you know, remember, bigger problems don't have urgent solutions. You know, you need to be very patient.
They're a process.
It's a process.
Because they came slowly as well.
They came slowly as well. For example, I will always give example of deaths. They came slowly.
That's true.
You need to come up with a process of getting out, a plan of getting out. But unfortunately, when people, when I am alone and think that I don't have a plan, most of the time, at that time, the option of going out, seeking help outside, it doesn't come, because in most cases they think people are going to judge me, people are going to laugh at me, people are going to, you know, ridicule me. They think of all, because we said one symptom of depression, clinical depression, major depressive disorder, is negative thoughts, negative conclusions. You conclude negatively, and you plan or you act depending on those conclusions. At this time, they never go out to consult with families, friends, anybody else. You know, help comes from all directions. Somebody else, a person that you don't know, might actually help you, and help is not necessarily in the form of money. Is in the form of a plan. They can help you put a better plan together.
Yeah.
So at this time, when people think that, you know, I'm done, I'm finished, I don't have any way out, they normally would, what will ring a lot is the thought of ending it all. And they do it. And in other instances, we see people coming up with the thought of killing themselves, especially when they've got negative role models of people who have actually killed themselves. If I've got somebody, family history of people who actually committed suicide, the likelihood that when I am faced with challenges, the likelihood that I will think of ending it by killing myself is very high, because you've got immediate examples around you.
Yeah, yeah.
And when maybe there's such issues of killing or suicide in the media, people, easily get opinions, from what they're seeing, what they're viewing daily, and they think that suicide will be
Exactly.
the quickest thing of killing themselves.
Yeah, because mostly we just hear reports of people who killed themselves. But then when you check how they were before they killed themselves, they were just fine. And we wonder, where was depression in this person, because he was just okay, but then all of a sudden, boom, he takes his own life.
Well, there are instances where one can take their own life, because of a sudden acute stressor. But then, in most cases, if you check closer, it's just that I get on the media, they will not give all the information of the person on the media. It's not ethical. But then, if you look closer, if you go to people that are closer to that person, there has been some hints. There've been some hints. There've been some warning signs.
Yeah.
There've been, if you look closer, there's always lots of stressors that this person, or challenges that this person has been facing.
Yeah.
That made them feel this hopeless and helpless, and thinking that suicide will be the way out.
Exactly.
If you go closer to the people that the relatives or people that were around this person, they'll tell you that after a person has killed themselves, they start now analyzing their conversations, their messages, their behavior, their jokes and stuff like that. You start to realize that actually this person was actually crying for help, and maybe because our eyes and ears were closed, we could not.
We missed it all.
Actually, we missed it all. We laughed it sometimes as a joke. We just laugh it out.
Yo.
And this person closes even more.
Yeah, yeah.
If we listen, I always say we need to listen when people talk.
Exactly.
If there's a reason for you to be concerned, please, even if you are wrong, it's okay to go closer and ask.
Yeah.
And if you can't ask yourself, it's also important. It's always important to get somebody who can actually access to this person.
Meaning it's better to probe,
yes,
and be sure that what I'm thinking is indeed what I'm
yes,
thinking, than to later regret and say, I should have done that,
yes,
but then I did not do until it's too late.
True. When they start giving their things away, when they start saying, I won't be there next week, and this person is not, you're staying with this person is not planning any trip to go to Johannesburg or to go to overseas. So I won't be there. And this person has not been themselves, or this person is facing a huge challenge. You need to go closer when they start talking about, in the past, in the future. And, you start really getting cautious,
exactly,
and curious about those little talks, little jokes that are always thrown in to prepare you,
Yeah, but
and
then
when they do, they look at you, they look at the reaction of the people, and most of the time people don't even pick up that this person is saying this.
But then does your reaction contribute anything towards their final decision making?
I think it does, how we react. Sometimes a person, we always say suicidal talks and stuff are a cry for help.
Yeah.
They're trying to say, help me, I'm in trouble. And if we don't pick that, they said, well, people are not even interested.
Yeah.
Remember, they're negative.
Exactly.
If you become harsh with them, they say, people, you see, they're judging me. So if you can't help, I always say, go and get somebody who can help. With suicide, it's very important that we really try and get this person professional help, because if we try to deal with it ourselves, we might actually push this person over.
Yeah.
Because remember, when they come, and when I say I think a person is better dead, they will come very harsh will be, my family will become very harsh on me.
Yes.
No, what do you think about that? Why should you think about that? And then, what am I going to do? I will never say it. I will keep quiet. I will keep it to myself.
Because we get frustrated when we say, tell us what's wrong, and then you don't talk. Then before you know it, they explode. You need to tell us what is going on inside of you.
If I don't talk, they explode. If I don't talk, it means I'm not ready to talk to you, or I don't want to talk to you. There are certain things that you cannot open to your family.
Yeah.
But you want them to pick up that you have got a problem and assist you.
So that they
take
can
you where
expose
help
you to,
is.
yeah.
You see, if they don't take you where help is, there's a problem. If we can't help him, sometimes we can't help our own.
Yeah, exactly.
So we need somebody else to come in. We need to rope somebody else in.
It's true.
To come
it's
and
true.
assist.
Yeah. And then a lot of men have this thing. They don't talk when they are burdened, especially mentally and emotionally. How does that contribute to this depression aspect of their lives?
Yes, I think men, a lot of things that contribute to them keeping to themselves is how they have been socialized.
Yeah.
The society, I think, is to blame, in most cases, when it comes to issues of men.
Yes.
And depression and suicide and not talking about their feelings.
It's true.
Most of the times, the traditional male gender roles discourages emotional expression in men. We say they need to toughen up, they need to act like a man.
And we view openness as a sign of weakness, and no man wants to be seen as weak.
No, you want to be seen as, in control, in charge, and taking care of your life. You don't want people looking down on you. Or if he's married, you don't want to look weak before your wife or before your parents and stuff. You need to, even as little boys, they try to be really mature and be very strong.
Yes.
And when the child goes there and maybe falls, a girl child will go and say, "Oh, my girl, just sorry," you understand. Will try to show some compassion and love. But a boy will say, "Hey, don't cry." But men don't cry. So they grow up with that thing, that I'm tough. I'm supposed to be strong. I'm supposed to be hard. And even with these issues, I'm supposed to help, approach them in that way.
Yeah.
So they become rigid, they become close. You can't read them. They close up things inside. They keep them to themselves. And most of the time, even when, their depression is mostly undiagnosed because it's close. They keep it close.
Yeah.
Remember, men don't even consult. When they consult, most of them when they consult, some consult, not all men. Some consult, but most they don't consult.
They
if
don't
you go
value.
to the doctors right now, you find surgeries full of females and children.
Yes.
But when men are not there, they're not even accompanying them to go, their females to the consulting rooms.
If they drive them there, they'll remain in the car.
They remain in the car. Or if they go there, they remain quiet. If they get inside the consult, they remain very quiet. They never really engage the doctor. What's wrong with my wife? What's wrong with this? So imagine taking themselves to the doctors is always a big challenge for a man. So most of them, they close it up. It is undiagnosed. And then if they happen to go to the doctor themselves, some go to the doctor and they're shy to really say, I'm depressed and I've been feeling like this, I can't. They try to put it nicely, even in the consulting room.
Yeah.
You sit with them, trying to really access them. They try to close up. They've managed to come, but they're still trying to be defensive and say... And
cover up the more sensitive part of their problem.
It's just stress. When this person is fully depressed, when this person is fully helpless, they try to still be in charge and in control. So they're less likely to seek help. They're less likely to talk about their emotional issues. They're less likely to cry. Sometimes ladies, maybe that's why ladies deal better with their depression, is because they cry. We are emotional beings. Yeah. We cry most of the time when we feel really overwhelmed.
Yeah.
We talk when we feel overwhelmed, we go to churches, we go to churches, we go there and pray, all night prayers, talking to God. That is a cry. We're crying out to God.
Exactly.
The whole night.
Let it all out.
They are talking about one thing the whole night, praying about one thing. Oh, tomorrow they feel much better.
Exactly.
And most men are not prayerful.
It's true. They don't pray.
On Saturday, women, again, they
let alone go to church.
On Thursday, women go to women's churches. They are going to still talk about it.
Yeah.
On Saturday, it's not even enough. On Saturday, they go to the societies.
Exactly.
They're still going to talk about it. They're still going to talk. They go to a friend. They are going to talk. So it's very important that we talk. Men don't get these opportunities of talking because of the very same traditional roles, how the gender roles, how we said they should keep it up, how we grew them up to be strong and tough.
Yeah.
So they need to know that it's okay to cry, it's okay to talk. Instead, you see what men will do. Instead of all these things that I'm said, women sometimes they use to to express their feelings. They will use a lot of alcohol and substances to try and
and
cool
subdue
it off. Yes, and subdue it a bit. So if I'm drunk, and I'm with the boys, I'm talking, it's fine. That's why sometimes it seems like they're on top of their game. But tomorrow, when they sober up, the stressor comes. The same depression, start again. And they must always go back for more and more self-treatment, what do you call it? Self-treatment, so, trying to really calm down the storm by drinking, using substances.
Yo.
Or going and they just go and talk to the boys, but not about the issues.
About something else.
Talk about
that
issues.
One
about
is off limits.
That one is inside. It is closed inside. That's why earlier on you said sometimes a person can talk and act to be happy when it's within the crowds. But inside, that we don't talk. The men don't talk about the issues. They talk about sport. They talk about this and that. About their cars and their money. Sometimes, those are the issues that you find men when they are congregating talking about.
Exactly.
Not about the issues, the real issues.
The
real issues that are facing men. The responsibilities. You need to realize that men are depressed about a lot of things.
Exactly.
The very same thing that the head of the families is very much pressurizing. They need to make sure that everybody's sorted out at home.
Exactly.
In most cases, are the only ones working at home, and they must make sure that the family runs. They must at work. There's pressure at work. There's pressure in the society. There's pressure within themselves. So they're facing pressures from all angles.
Yeah.
So we need to have arenas where they can actually go and talk.
Exactly.
If they can't talk to themselves, then let them come to us and talk.
It's true. It's true. Wonderful. Okay, we're going to take a break and we'll be back right after this. I think just Kaele Village Arena, we need to maybe have something like this, really a live audience.
It's true. It's very true.
If you can say these things by Dujiba television, I think they will actually reconsider how they deal with problems.
Very true. Very, very true.
Yes, because no one is putting them out there for men to hear them and really evaluate how they deal with problems.
True. And you're not in no, you must toughen up. We know these things, but okay, it's fine. We know them as knowledge, but we don't know them for ourselves.
Exactly. Knowledge hidden is useless.
It's useless.
Yes.
A book that's never read is a useless book.
Exactly.
Information is hidden there.
Yeah. Now let's go to the final part and then we'll be done. We are back on People Power. A lot of men like to exercise cover up as a coping mechanism whenever their mental health is under attack. So right now I want Dr. Sutwaba to tell us, how does this cover up affect the lifespan of a man?
Obviously, if you are covering up, if you are hiding things inside,
yes,
you can only cover up, up to a certain extent.
Yeah.
There's somewhere where these things are going to escape,
The time bomb.
Yes, a time bomb. A man becomes irritable at home, you become irritable, and you're angry, anger outbursts, and that is when most of the time they become abusive. They only talk through action. They act it out.
Yeah.
They become very terrible parents, fathers. So they become absent fathers. They're there but they're absent. Have you ever seen a person who's present absent?
Yeah.
The two things at the same time.
Physically they are there, but then
physically present but emotionally shut, not absent.
Exactly.
Very, very absent. So they become absent husbands as well.
Yeah.
And they are not able to deal with the little stresses. They're not able to put the family together, and abuse set in, especially when you are boiling up inside, when you are frustrated inside, when you are pressured inside. The one way of letting it out is storming out. It storms out in abuse of children, abuse of family. That is why maybe we've got this high rate of gender-based violence,
Exactly.
and most of the time is perpetrated by men. Men are perpetrators of this. You
Very
see
much.
how a man out of rage and anger would do gruesome, acts, killing, beating and abusing their wives and children. Then you ask yourself a question: how did it come to this? Most of them are depressed.
Yeah.
Most of them is the build up of stress and frustration and stress, to a point where a person cannot really cope and they start acting out. And who's nearer to really be on the receiving end? It is the females, the children that are around here, around them. Those are the ones that are going to take the steam, unfortunately. And that's why we've got such a high statistics of gender-based violence. And the things that are done, how they would carry out those things is despicable.
Exactly.
Gruesome, cruel.
Sure.
So it's a reflection of the anger and the frustration that has been boiled up inside.
Yes.
So we could, by talking about this, by helping these men, we could actually
get down to the root of the problem.
Yes. I am Dr. Mokhadi Setwaba, and I'm a clinical psychologist. My practice is situated at 75 Berger Street, along the street between Mediclinic and Petersburg Hospital. We offer different services in our practice. We offer individual services, couple services, and we service the youth, the children, and as well as the adults. We do a lot of assessments, psycholegal assessments. We do assessments for placement purposes, either is work placements as well as school placements for children with disabilities. And we also do a lot of individual psychotherapies, different kinds of psychotherapies, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapies, as well as RBT. These are my colleagues, people that will always help patients when they come to our practice. They do a lot of different things. Others do open files, others make appointments for patients, and others do admin work where we the billings and other administration management work.
We are back once more on People Power, and right now I want Dr. Setwaba to tell us at which stage of life is a person more likely to encounter stress?
I think when a person is feeling or experiencing pressures in life.
Yeah.
Pressures as in, from external or internal. It could be pressure from yourself. When you're putting too much pressure on yourself, or when outside the community, the family, outside forces, and you can't handle those pressures. I think that one can start experiencing stress.
Yeah.
And sometimes when a person is faced with conflicts,
Yes.
Conflicts could be in the form of, having to choose between, different options and choices. That could be very stressful. You can, I always talk about approach kind of conflict, where a person has got two positive things to choose from. Choosing could be a challenge there, and could
can be stressful.
Very stressful. You want to go you've got an offer to go and study at, the USA, for example, and you've got a good promotion this side. And then you don't know, the notch is good, and America is also calling.
Exactly.
You don't know what to choose. Such kind of pressures, keep positive pressures.
The value of indecision can be very stressful.
True. It's a positive pressure. Approach avoidance.
Exactly.
You don't know which one to take. You're supposed to choose, but you don't. Choosing is very difficult there.
Exactly.
And sometimes it's two things. You want to go there. Giddy negative things.
Exactly.
So giddy conflicts. Conflict could come in many ways. Approach avoidance, and all that. And one of the other things that could actually do this, I said, giddy life events.
Yeah.
At point when sometimes when life events, a person is faced with multiple life events at a time. You lose 6 members of the family. For example, situations like what is happening at KZN. People have lost their loved ones. Some people have lost multiple members of the family at once. Still others not accounted for. That is stressful. So at that stage, when the stressor is huge, you are not able to deal with it. You are likely to feel very stressed. You are likely to experience the clinical symptoms of stress.
Yeah. And those type of things usually happen when people are in their youth and midlife as well.
Yes, all ages have got their own challenges, their own challenges. Adolescents have got their challenges. By mere fact, Eric Erikson will tell you about their challenge of adolescents. Will say they're trying to look for identity, and people at a different age, adults have got, at different levels, have got, certain challenges. The job, looking for a job.
Yeah.
Because the challenges of a young person are not the same as the challenges of adults. They're different. That's why I'm saying each and every age has got, or age level, or development has got its own challenges.
Yeah.
Older people, elderly people have got their challenges. Being at home and being useless, after they feel useless.
Yeah.
After working for 40 years for this company, only the CEO of this company, and suddenly they say you are 65 or 70, you must go home. You are a lecturer of a university, you are a professor, and you promoted a lot of people, and suddenly they say
you've had your day.
Yes, you are 65, you must go and retire. You are no longer needed in the university. You feel useless. You feel like they're taking something out of you. So that kind of transition in life can actually push a lot of people into stress and into depression, experiencing symptoms of depression. So it depends. Everybody at some stage will have depression. A young mom who's first-time mother could have the stress of having the baby,
exactly.
And as a result, start experiencing symptoms of transiting from being myself, being responsible for me, to now being responsible, looking after this baby, It
takes you out of your comfort zone.
Very true. You start now. Yesterday you were pregnant, you were just sleeping, and tomorrow they say you have delivered, and now somebody's crying next to you. You must now have sleepless night and start looking after that transition. Some people might actually not do very well in it and develop symptoms of stress, and this one is very interesting because it can even lead people to developing psychosis. We've had mothers who would experience just the blues, postpartum blues and depression, and sometimes the extreme postpartum psychosis. where the child, the unborn, the baby is now in danger. They're not even, cannot be trusted with the care of their baby.
Yeah.
So at any stage, you can actually experience stress.
Exactly. It makes perfect sense.
You don't have to be poor to experience stress. Even rich people experience stress.
Every life situation has got its own challenges.
Yes, when things are going very well for you, something could just come and,
and knock it all down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Death, loss of people that you love in your life.
Exactly.
Loss of job. People at the moment, a lot of young people are stressed because of unemployment.
It's true.
They hold degrees, Some have got masters, some have got honors, some have got, even doing PhDs. You look at science students that they push up to PhD and they don't have a full-time job. So that is very stressful.
Yeah.
That could really be a stressor for a young person who's got all the resources but cannot be employed.
It's true.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate the information that you've given on this episode, and it's very, very useful because this type of things, they are only known by professionals, but then it's good that we expose them to the outside world. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and allowing us to come and do this very, very informative episode with you.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it.
I hope it helps somebody out there.
Definitely it will. It will help a lot of people who will get their eyes and ears on this episode. Yeah, that was Dr. Mohadi Situaba. Well, as you have heard, suicide is never a solution to depression. In fact, suicide is just a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Depression is something that can be solved if you get the right type of help and expose yourself to where help is. In order to get free unlimited access of all this wonderful episode, click the subscribe button down over here on the right, and also exercise some generosity by liking this video and sharing it with all your loved ones. Thank you very much.